you can also give your thought process where we can through FAPC, we can share the same thing with the state government for addressing it in much better way. Same thing, Ramkumar garu. What is that? Apart from this particular policy issues, what is that at the labor camp level? All the manpower now, the work from home has come into effect. How effective it is, you can talk on that. Next, Ganesh garu, you can project how the banks are reacting. Even though even including yesterday's RBI announcement of so many other reasons, but is it in reality, because you are facing the banks on day-to-day basis, is it a reality? So first we'll start with these two sessions. Depending upon the outcome of it, we'll go to the next two sessions, advancement, post-COVID, how this will be. So that way we'll conclude for 40 minutes. Next 10-20 minutes, we'll open up for the question and answers. Probably the entire thing would be complete. Is this okay with you all, sir?
Sure.
Absolutely, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So we'll wait another couple of minutes. I think members are joining.
The Bhaskar Reddy is here.
Yeah, Bhaskar garu will be starting the session, sir. We'll be giving the welcome address before handing over the panel to. Just a couple of minutes, sir. I think it's almost time now.
Charan is already there.
Bhaskar Reddy
garu, meede program ఇది.
Bhaskar Reddy, very good morning, Andy. Yeah, I think it's time. One second, sir.
I think Bhaskar Reddy garu is not connected.
He's connected.
వీడియో వచ్చిందండి.
వీడియో వచ్చింది కానీ మరి డిస్కనెక్ట్ అయిపోయినారు.
వచ్చిందండి.
Yeah.
కొంచెం కనెక్టివిటీ
వారిది ఆడియో స్టార్ట్ అయిపోతే
భాస్కర్ రెడ్డి గారు, ఆర్ యు దేర్? భాస్కర్ రెడ్డి గారు,
వారిది I think his microphone is yet to be connected, sir. We need to enable his audio over there on the system. The host kindly help Bhaskar Reddy garu for his mic. Please call him on his mobile and help him. It's already 12:05 now. Host.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Are you there, Srikanth?
I'm here. I'm here.
No.
Mr. Bhaskar.
Another Srikanth.
Yes, sir. I'm in the phone only. I will check.
Yeah, now we got connected.
Bhaskar Reddy garu, are you there, sir? Bhaskar Reddy garu.
అంటే వాళ్ళ మైక్ ని మ్యూట్ చేశారు, స్పీకర్ ని. భాస్కర్ రెడ్డి గారు
అసలు కనపడలేదు భాస్కర్ రెడ్డి గారి వాళ్ళ కంప్యూటర్ లో ఈ షుడ్ ఎనేబుల్ దట్.
యూ షుడ్ ఎనేబుల్ ద మ్యూట్ బటన్ నొక్కాలి.
ఇప్పుడు వచ్చింది భాస్కర్ రెడ్డి గారి.
గుడ్ మార్నింగ్ భాస్కర్ రెడ్డి గారు.
గుడ్ ఆఫ్టర్నూన్
గుడ్ ఆఫ్టర్నూన్ How are you, Andy? Bhaskar Reddy garu.
All well, Srikanth.
Looking so fresh. ఏంటండి ఇంట్లో కూర్చొని ఏం చేస్తారు? ఇది సెమినార్ తర్వాత మాకు చిట్కాలు పంపించండి అందరికి.
ఏమంటారు? సెమినార్
తర్వాత చిట్కాలు పంపించండి. Good. Sir, let us start with our things. So I think we have almost 80 people already come in. So
Yeah.
Mechanically, we started with the welcome thing, sir.
Yeah. Good afternoon and welcome to this webinar on the post-COVID management of real estate sector. So I welcome Srikanth, Badiga garu and Prem Kumar. Actually, I'm here. Our president was supposed to head this, and he has to rush to the ministry to attend yesterday's problems the industry is facing. So I was just chipped in the last minute. So I welcome all the members and panelists to this webinar. On behalf of FTCCI, I welcome you all to the and also I welcome all the participants who have joined from various departments and sectors. And hopefully we'll have a detailed discussion on post-COVID real estate issues. Over to you, Srikanth Badiga. I think you need to take a lead actually in introducing everybody.
Sir, thank you so much, Sir Bhaskar Garu.
Thank you.
First of all, we should thank Federation for giving us this opportunity and giving the interaction with the real estate bigwigs. And fortunately, we can rope in Mr. Chalapathi Garu, Mr. Prem Kumar Garu. Both these members from the not now from we are talking about where Telangana, AP as a combined state, we're undergoing a lot of problems for real estate. Nobody is to consider real estate as a sector at all. Since those days, these two people, Mr. Chalapathi Garu and Mr. Prem Garu, where I got an opportunity to work with them also, these two people were very, very instrumental in getting some very good policies made at the central level and the state, which are good for the real estate industry. And especially where every common man is talking about RERA, the instrument. I'm sure most of you are aware that Mr. Chalapathi Garu is his contribution to the RERA thing, and also Mr. Prem Kumar also. Where the same credential, Mr. Prem Kumar is now the Vice President of NAREDCO central level, and Mr. Chalapathi Garu is once again leading the TREDA. So all these things are these two people's creativity. They are seen in and around of in and out of real estate of this particular region, especially AP and Telangana. Right from the first building, they know how difficult it was to get the building permissions. Now we are on a click of a button through TSI pass, we're able to get all the pass, but still a lot of improvements supposed to happen. Having said that, so thanks to these two people, bigwigs who have made realize or recognize the government to consider real estate also one of the sector. Infrastructure was only one thing. Infrastructure was considered as a sector, but real estate thing also, construction of regular commercial building, IT buildings are also recognized by the efforts of such people. Welcome you both on board. And with me, we have Mr. Ramkumar Garu. He's the vice chairman of our Indo Chamber of Commerce with huge experience. He's an entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur, and he works very closely with the central government policymakers. He's he's one of the advisors in the central government. And Mr. Ganesh. Mr. Ganesh is vice president of SEZ Association of AP and Telangana, and also CFO of Raheja. With this introduction, I open up this session with your permissions. First, to start with this particular COVID real estate scenario, let us not talk about what has happened, where it has started, and how now, but let us be practical. And my first thing starts with Mr. Prem Garu. Prem Garu, what was the scenario before COVID at the national level? How was it? What kind of what was the temperament of people, both in terms of investments as well as developers are concerned? We've been talking a lot about REITs coming in, buoyant stage of real estate, all those things. Kindly give your views before COVID, sir. I'm talking until February 2020, sir. Over to you, sir.
Mr. Srikanth Badiga, Chairman, Infrastructure Committee, FTCCI. And thank you, FTCCI, for this opportunity for me to participate. A very special thanks to Mr. Bhaskar Reddy and Mr. Inani. Sir, what was the real estate scenario before the onset of this COVID-19? Well, to give you one single number, office space absorption in the year 2019 has been something like 47 million square feet pan-India. I think this has been the highest that has ever been recorded in the Indian real estate. And Hyderabad has been at the top of this whole thing. And in fact, Hyderabad has been talked about the most sought after destination for quite some time now. And, this kind of office space adoption would, normally the average of 60 to 70 square feet is taken for every 60, 70 square feet of office space. we require 1 residential unit. So if you convert it in terms of numbers, what this 2019, just this 2019 absorption of office space will do to the residential space in the next few years would be something like between maybe 7 to 8 lakh units, residential units. That's the kind of residential demand that this office space has generated only in 2019. Again, there is so much demand that is already there that till from 2018, 2017 and all this. So this was how the sentiment had been before the onset of COVID. So Mr. Srikanth, if I'm talking too long, please tell me, I will shorten it. Okay?
No. This is very, very, very informative, sir.
Yeah. Now, I will talk a little bit about this sentiment in terms of numbers. Knight Frank, FICCI and NAREDCO together, they have this sentiment index that is being done on a quarterly basis. And the sentiment in the December quarter of real estate has been an all-time high of 53. Now, to tell you what 53 means, anything above 50 is supposed to be very, very positive. So that was how it was in December 2019. Now, coming to the quarter ended March, the same sentiment index done by credible organizations like Knight Frank in association with FICCI and NAREDCO. Now, this sentiment index came down to 31, from December quarter 53 to March quarter 31. So anything less than 50 is supposed to be very pessimistic. So this is where we are. This is where we are as far as the sentiment is concerned, just before or just after the onset of this virus. And well, something like this, like we had all these speakers in the last 2-3 years, we've been participating in so many conferences at the national level hosted by NAREDCO, and everyone agrees that something like this has never happened in the last 100 years. And then, the world figures, well, if you see, just before the onset of this COVID, S&P, that is a very credible rating agency, has rated India at 5.3 growth, 5.3. And then they reduced it to 3.5. And now they have brought it down to about 1%. So the entire world is showing a 0% growth for the next 1 year. And I would stick to what Mr. Srikanth has said for the moment to talk about what has happened before at the national level, and the rest of the things I would be taking up a little later whenever he gives me an opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. Sir, very good insight, sir. We will talk about the one thing which you're talking about, the pessimistic part, which was influenced by the global recession, global scenarios. We'll come to it at a later part of discussion, sir. So over to you, sir, Chalapathi garu. Sir, in continuation to what Prem garu has been telling us about the national perspective, could you kindly throw us some light on the regional perspective, vice versa with the government policy, sir? Chalapathi garu, over to you, sir. Hello, Chalapathi garu. Hello, Chalapathi garu.
I think he's on mute. He's on mute.
Yeah.
Okay.
So thank you all for having me here.
Sir.
Prem has nicely summarized with figures the situation as of before COVID. 1 or 2 points I want to add is the pain points have been there in NCR and MMR even before COVID. The market is not so good in both these places, whereas the Hyderabad has been doing exceedingly well. That he has already summarized, and the leasing took place in Hyderabad, exceeded in 1 or 2 quarters Bangalore also, and stood number 1. But in the business terms, what we say is hitherto businesses of this generation Hello? Yeah. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir. We can see
Yeah.
you. We can hear you, sir.
Yeah, hitherto, what we are dealing businesses is only risk. Now we are learning how to deal with uncertainty. These things were taught to us in the management schools, but we rarely had to deal with uncertainty. Now this COVID is something uncertainty which we have to deal with. Then post-COVID, what is going to happen? Immediately there is pain to at least for 1 year for the entire economy as such. Then one thing that emerging is work from home may become a trend. This may lead to two things. One is maybe mixed development at the local level. Now we are doing standalone commercial office buildings, standalone residential, etc. So one trend could be that part of the buildings can be converted into office space so that, not exactly they have to work from home, they can work from the complex as such. So with all the facilities like office providing. The other thing is to do up the house, part of the house as a workstation to facilitate proper environment for proper working. This may lead to single flat apartments, that means one apartment only for floor, and also higher demand for villas or independent houses. So this is going to be some of the scenario. And as far as I am concerned, Hyderabad is going to be a global center now because of its advantages in respect of the infrastructure, the prices which we are offering here, and the overall environment and friendly government here. We are going to become a hotspot for the entire world. And work from home is going to be very beneficial for Hyderabad because we offer the better prices compared to any other metro in India and maybe in the world as such. So this is going to be a good thing for Hyderabad as far as this. Are we ready or not? Whether I should answer now or later?
We'll go to the next session, like next couple of questions then we can answer, sir.
Yes.
So the most important thing, sir, what I wanted to hear from you, sir, before March, before this COVID, I wanted to hear from you, like, now Mr. Prem has shared with us the global sentiments. So what were the sentiments in Telangana? Of course, it were increasing, sir, but what was your observation? Because we have seen many number of real estate cycles. I don't know anybody else has really seen that. So what is your comment on that, sir? Comparative to previous life cycles and this particular life cycle, sir?
Yeah, so despite some apprehensions that we are going to have too much of supply, overall, we have been very comfortable. The growth rate in Hyderabad, commercial space especially, is very, very high compared to any other city in India. Even, of course, in absolute area, in respect of leasing, also we are better, but growth rate we were far, far better than any other city in India as such. So that is a good, comfortable thinking for us. And I think we are going to continue this trend despite maybe a temporary setback for a 5-6 months or so. I think the industry working with the favorable government, we can do this and we will do it. Thank you.
Good, fine, sir. Ramkumar Garu. Ramkumar Garu, I would like to listen from you. Now, until March, sir, that is pre-COVID, the market sentiment were good, and it was also an economic balance, the national, international scenarios and all. And also, we have heard about what is the regional perspective. I want to hear from you. How do you look at the entire scenario? Because I want to hear from you the different sectors also, not restricted to real estate. Probably you can drive down to real estate at the end of your conclusion, sir. You can start off with your perspective, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Srikanth Garu, and it's a pleasure to be with all of you. Now, a few things. First, I'd like to talk about at a macro level, then come back to India at a micro level and get back to the issues of real estate. Now, very quickly, let me tell you, this Corona experience changes the perspectives towards business and life all over the world. Predominantly in the Western countries, who are not, I mean, the consumer in a Western country is not used to saving and creation of wealth. The plastic economy that was running did not tell them the meaning of how to save, how to invest in long-term assets like real estate. That will be the first impact of the Western countries, which is a shock to them after nothing less than about 40, 50 years of their existence. Part one. Part two, the recession, what we're going through in terms of the pandemic is the recession. Now, we are closely touching a point of what is called the depression in economic terms. Now, we have yet not touched depression. Now, the question is whether India as a country is ready to face a depression situation in the entire economy. My perspective is yes, we are very, very well prepared. Normally, economics look at the depression or the points of depression three different ways in terms of revival of an economy. The first is what they call is a V phenomena. The second is a U phenomena, and the third is an L phenomena. Now, what is a V phenomena? V phenomena is an impact on the economy which will push you to the bottom, but quickly bounce back and come back and revive itself. That is the V phenomena. The U phenomena is the lingering of the recession for a longer period of time, which will affect the economy. However, it is not bad news. I mean, there is a possibility of the economy springing back to life through the internal dynamics of an economy. That's the second. The third is L. L is bad news. L means it is a consistent continuation of depression wherein there will be an institutional and a structural damage to the economy. Unfortunately, India, with its strong economy, I hope and I'm sure we will not face the L situation. Now, coming back to the U situation, I think we have a good enough standing. Our Reserve Bank as well as Government of India has always been plus AAA rating in international parlance. So there is a very good hope of our being a V phenomenon. That is, we will quickly bounce back in terms of the economy. Okay. Now, having said this, we should also remember a pandemic of this nature is not structural. It is cyclical. So now we should learn to live with these kind of pandemics, or more importantly, these kind of sudden disruptions of a smooth flowing economy. We don't have the experience to do it. Please remember this. China, for example, has faced the SARS and they quickly rebound itself through a V form of revival, primarily because they know how to handle pandemics like this of their experience in SARS. For us, this is the first time that we are going through. Now, having said this, let me share a few international trends in what's happening. Now, you will be surprised to know that in international markets of real estate right now, India is down by 30% from last year, okay, in terms of the investments that we were getting from abroad for real estate. Now, the United States, you'll be surprised, in spite of being the most affected because of this, we are... Sorry, there was a disruption. See, the United States has dipped by 28%, and China, in fact, Beijing, the real estate has fallen by 40%, and in Shanghai, it has fallen by as low as 56%. Now, at the time of SARS, what did China do to revive its real estate business? What they've done was very intelligent, very smart approach towards, improving of the economy, where we have to learn from. Now, what did they do? They allowed foreign direct investment into real estate, specifically with focus on stressed assets. They made sure, through channelizing agencies of the government bank, they made sure that the foreign investments are welcome to take the stressed assets. Now, India, unfortunately, we are still lingering in terms of our policy making, but we have given a little window in the form of ECBs, that is external commercial borrowing. What I mean is, if there is an Indian developer who has stressed assets, he will be allowed to raise foreign funds through external commercial borrowings and then clear his bank loans in India so that he will be able to continue with the real estate development. Now, today, the situation demands a relook at this kind of a policy. This is a great opportunity for Government of India to open the foreign direct investment into real estate and make sure that the Indian developers' enthusiasm in building real estate continues. I think the associations of real estate must really take keen interest in this, take a deep-rooted opinion on this, and then take it forward. The kind of China initiatives have helped China. Same way, even in the United States, the projections are reasonably good. Though they are down by 28%, the federal government of the United States is really supporting the real estate factor to push it up. Now, what is the scenario for India? I feel we're really going to bounce back. We're going to bounce back early. We're going to bounce back better. But having said this, there's a flip side to it. We need to be smart. We need to be very contemporary. We need to learn from the experiences of other countries to make sure that we meet certain both systemic as well as approach, the approach changes towards the real estate business in India. What I mean is, we should think in terms of various kinds of routes. We should use technology. We should use aggregation of assets. We should use fractional investment methods. There are a lot of innovative, there are a lot of managerial and even innovative interferences that we need to make sure that the real estate really grows. The micro issues like people preferring smaller homes, people preferring areas with emphasis on health, nature, and environment. These kind of things, it's a continuous process. But today the issue is, how do we face the pandemic? How do we face and how do we quickly bounce back with or without the government support? I think today we need to look at foreign direct investments coming into India into real estate. We should look in terms of managing our assets. Right.
So this would come to the next question. We can continue on this particular issue, sir.
Right. Thank you.
I'll continue with. Thank you so much, sir. Very insightful. We need to be abreast and we should be contemporary, as I said. Whatever strategies we should do, that should be in the parallel with the global economy. Over to Ganesh Garu. Ganesh Garu, the question is, I did not put your question clear. Continuation, Mr. Ramkumar was talking about the financial policies, especially. Can you throw some light how and what kind of strategy you used to adopt and what kind of financial situation was existing for us? Ganesh Garu, over to you. Ganesh Garu.
I think he is not there.
Hello?
He is not there.
I don't think he's there.
Ganesh Garu.
So he's not there. Maybe he'll come back. He's disconnected.
Yeah. So Prem Garu, I'll come back. And now let me ask you, sir. So you're also been experiencing. We are now become advisors, we become consultants, we become whatnot. We forgot about our own business. We're really doing a buildings, constructing a buildings. So in your perspective, sir, how healthy was until March, sir? How healthy is the financial markets, especially Ramkumar Garu touched upon the external commercial borrowing, sir, and also FCCDs. Could you kindly throw some light on how industry was receptive on it, and why did government tweak at all on that particular thing, sir?
Sorry, I didn't.
You can answer.
There was a break in what you were saying. Well, you spoke about ECB and a couple of thoughts.
Sir,
a couple of thoughts on what Mr. Ramkumar had just now said also. And like I was saying, the market has been so good just before the onset of this virus. And I think what you are asking is, what about ECB and how prepared are we and things like that, right? Because that is the second part.
I'll just change my question, sir. So it was until before March last 1 year, we could see good number of FDI coming into India, sir, especially in the form of FCCDs or ECB, whatever, sir. I just want to hear from you what made other countries to bring FDI into India. What grounds, sir, and especially the government's positive approach. I would like to listen from you, sir.
Well, what makes any foreign investor coming to India? Exciting returns. I would say that is the first and foremost thing that brings a foreign investor into India. And what makes him go out of India? If you see the way these financial institutions are going out of the stock market, you will understand that, when the going is not good, they want to pull out, and when the going is good, they want to come in. So that's what has happened to real estate till now. And a few thoughts about what has happened in China. Yeah, like Mr. Ramkumar was saying, China's story had been better than India in terms of real estate till now, because our GDP has been 7 to 8%. Real estate has been 7 to 8% of GDP. Whereas China, it has been 20% of GDP. So there's a huge difference, and also because the FDI policies as far as China are concerned are much more friendly compared to India. And then a few thoughts about this V, U, and W and L curves, Mr. Ramkumar. What happened in China is this virus started in December, and then everyone was expecting that, by April, the Chinese economy would rebound. But unfortunately, for whatever reason, that has not happened, because a few things have not been factored in. One is what's happening throughout the world, because China depends on the world as far as its exports are concerned, and that has not picked up. And what China is facing today, after 4 months and having brought this virus under control, which is going to apply to all of us, is that the sentiment in the market is bad in China. People are still, consumer spending is still not happening because people are still worried about their jobs. People are still worried about another outbreak of this virus. So what was expected was a V curve, but then what is actually happening is a U as of now, and it could also be something like an L or a W, like you were saying just now. Would like to add, when you give me the next chance.
Yeah. You can go ahead. You have time, sir. Please go ahead, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So this was what was happening in till now, but what is going to happen in the next 1 year or 2 years? Well, the world figures are really bad. If you look at the world growth figures, I think it is the growth rates are zero if you go by the general outlook of what's happening in the world economy. But India seems to be doing very well compared to the world, in the sense that S&P has given, I think, 1.3 growth percentage to India, and China is also on, along with Indonesia. I think these are the only 3 countries that are in the positive. And I was listening to this IMF economist, I forget her name, she is from, and she was saying that something unprecedented is happening at the IMF, in the sense that there are about 100 countries that have approached the IMF for financial loans or facilities or whatever, something that has never happened before. And today the requirement of these countries is something more than 100 billion. But then the nice thing she said yesterday was that India is not among these 100 countries. So, so then where is this whole COVID-19 going to take us in the next 1 year or 2 years? Please tell me if you want me to stop anywhere and continue at a later date, at a later time, I mean. So what is going to happen? There have been
Mr. Ganesh has
So I'm sorry, I got disconnected, in fact.
yeah.
no, it's a Ganesh Garu. Prem Garu, continue. Just 2 minutes.
Yeah,
Yes, Ganesh Garu. Thank you, Ganesh Garu. Prem Garu,
Thanks.
Chip, and please go on. Go ahead.
So what is going to happen in the next 1-2 years? There have been various predictions, various forecasts about what is going to happen. And I have my own thoughts on this, right or wrong. I'm going to express those things here right now. So I was talking about IMF and the kind of things that is happening throughout the world. And now the prediction is that everything is going to bounce back by next year, especially if you look at India. It is the prediction is that India is going to have a growth rate of more than 7.5%, 2021, 2022, as compared to 1.3 in 2020-21. That is great news. That is wonderful news. And the other country that comes close to India is only Bangladesh, and all other countries are showing 1%, 2%. These are the growth predictions. But then I'm also thinking, what are these predictions and what is the basis for these predictions? Because I have something relevant to say as far as this virus is concerned. The last time that we had a pandemic,
Mr. Prem, can we pause here and get back to on this particular thing, because we'll have to discuss on these causes as the third question. Can I go back to Ganesh now? I'm going to get back to on this. Yeah. Mr. Ganesh.
Yeah. Please.
Mr. Ganesh, we are trying to ask you. Actually, you missed certain things. Where Mr. Ramkumar was trying to impress upon the Indian economy as a financial concern. My question to you is, what was the financial situation post-COVID until last couple of years put together, and because it was turning India was turned to be one of the leading place worldwide, and a lot of amendments are made in the financial acts and all for the good of the industry. What is your take until March post-COVID?
Okay. Thanks, Srikanth Garu. In fact, I'm very sorry I got disconnected. So,
absolutely no problem. Please carry on.
In fact, this Indian real estate market is already going through prolonged pain for various reasons. So April also may not bring much relief. So mostly because
what I'm trying to ask you is not during this COVID, but previous until March. You were very much handling all your financials as a CFO. What was your perspective until? What were your plans? Now entire thing has been deferred, not changed but deferred. But I'm asking you before March, how was the situation, financial situation, the last couple of years until March?
See, until the March before, in fact, in the immediate quarter before the March, this the world economy was going into 12% contraction. So even the quarters was so seen as a brutal global equity collapse since the Great Depression. In fact, the entire market was under standstill. The new purchases have been witnessing a decline across multiple segments.
When did this start?
This sector started from the last quarter itself. From the March, starting of March, it started. In fact, the asset class was going under suppression. So, quick buying or selling at least should not be expected for at least some more weeks. But
Mr. Ganesh, my question is something else. I was asking you, what was the financial status the last 2 years until this last March? Let us not talk about COVID or this particular depression. Not until then. How was it? That is my question.
If you're talking exclusively for Indian market, India was growing at a good pace compared to the rest of the part of the world. So the market seemed much bullish compared to other part. Real estate was booming. Automobile sector was also improving in India. Pharmaceutical is going on. But real estate market after uh, uh, since at a certain time, it was gloomy only, except Hyderabad, which was growing. Otherwise, the market was completely turbulent. Yeah.
Suppose I ask you from last, say, 2019 June till 2020 March, what were your, as Raheja as a huge group, national group, what were your observations?
If you're asking of as a real estate developer point of view, Rahejas were doing
Exactly.
pretty well. Rahejas were doing pretty well. In fact, the space was completely absorbed. So we didn't get any laxity of any demand. Even in fact, we are getting good rentals, good average rentals for as high as 75 rupees per square feet. So, and we were seeing a quite surplus in the demand also. It was going on. So anytime it would have been continued.
Absolutely. So this is what I was trying to ask you as one of CFO, one of the biggest group in India. What we are trying to say from this particular seminar, Mr. Ganesh, is like that we have not lost anything until now. Until 2020 March, market is very favorable. Whatever is happening during March, April, May, the business is going to differ. That is what we're trying to say about. So I'll come back to you on this issue. Now, Chalapathi garu, see, I want to listen from you. What should be our preparedness now? Since you have observed all the cycles, so many economic cycles, especially real estate, what should be our preparedness now? Because I feel, all of the industry people feel, the business only differed. We are not lost the business. Over to you, Chalapathi garu. Kindly give your views and what should be our preparedness.
Yeah, of course. Just one general comment before I go to that. One is, of course, everything depends on whether we are able to find an effective vaccine for this COVID in a shorter period. Otherwise, predicting uncertainty never happens. So the risk can be predicted. Uncertainty cannot be predicted. Yeah, that is very important for us. So, as far as we are concerned,
Sir,
for Telangana,
sir, we can't hear you.
No, are you able to hear now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's clear.
Yeah. As far as Telangana is concerned, or even the India is concerned, we may have to allow first project extension, because some time is lost now. It may continue for another 5-6 months. We are not really sure whether the labor who are in the camp, they are going to stay back once we resume work. We are not very clear whether we can resume work from Monday onwards, because it will be decided only by cabinet tomorrow, scheduled for tomorrow. So suppose if there are two things. One is from the government perspective and from the social perspective. We should not take any chance of spreading COVID in Telangana and Hyderabad. On the other hand, if we keep our workforce idly for more and more time, the moment we start resuming work, there may be a danger of people wanting to go back early. So that's a very difficult question. The cabinet is going to take it up, and we'll know the result by tomorrow evening. Then from the industry perspective, in order for us to convert the so-called likely L or U-turn or something like that to make it a V, what we can do is allow the project extensions. Number two, allow changes in the plans. For example, those projects which are yet to be launched, they should be given flexibility. They are already sanctioned. They should be given flexibility if they want to convert the projects into multi-use. So the fees and all is a secondary issue, but primary issue is, depending on the perception demand, whether the work from home or work to work concepts are going to prevail over in the market. So let the developer have the choice of changing the approved plans or plans in the pipeline as per their own estimates. Then as far as helping is concerned, the central government has to do a lot of things in respect of taxes. NAREDCO, we have been asking at the central level. As President-elect, I have been also emphasizing that we have to clear many things from the center. One is GST has to be suspended at least for some months. So this will be an incentive from the demand side, that is for the customers to pick up units without expecting much price correction. Then, of course, income tax benefit also can be extended for the second, third houses, etc. As far as the state government is concerned, what we expect from the state government is even the property taxes are very high. I understand that Ganesh also will watch for that. Some of the commercial area, it is 35 rupees per square feet or so. So that needs to be given some relief, at least in the short term, property taxes. And stamp duty also has to be looked at, whether we can give some incentive in respect of stamp duty for registration for at least in the next 6 months or so. Similarly, interest is one of the very important cost factor for the houses. So if at all we are able to sustain, developers we have to sustain, we have been at the lower end of the price brackets all over India. There is hardly any capacity in the developers to sustain any price correction. So a small correction, if it is going to happen, it can happen only in the lower end. I see that the walk-to-work culture is going to increase the demand for semi-luxury and luxury apartments more, because people may have to work from home. So stamp duty, some relief can be given by the state government, and as well as property tax also. Maybe for the units that are completed, property tax assessment also should be deferred until the date of occupation rather than the date of occupation certificate. See, presently the government is putting the property tax right from the date of occupancy certificate, even if it is given in March, from October 1st onwards, that is previous year. Last 6 months or 5 months also, we have to pay property tax. I strongly urge the state government and other all over India governments also, the property tax assessment should be deferred until the occupation of the unit takes place, whether it's office or residential or retail, whatever it is. Similarly, now there is no relief for property tax in respect of the housing units. There is some relief in respect of office and retail space if it is not occupied for more than 6 months. So I think it should be brought down to 3 months, and the relief should be given when there is no occupation. So this will give confidence. Otherwise, we are likely to give a different opinion to the investors in these places. Now, the liquidity improvement is very, very important for the projects to be completed. One is, of course, by increasing the demand side incentives, as enlisted above, that can be given. Another is the last mile funding. There has been a lot of discussions happening. Of course, our state government has already opened registrations in Telangana, but as of now, the registration is not happening much because the housing finance companies, they are not sanctioning the loans, or whatever loans are sanctioned are not releasing, because the physical signatures are required by them. Even the banks are functioning, HFCs are not properly functioning. So immediately it is required that then HFCs are made to function, so that the liquidity position will also improve. And of course, both the SFCs as well as the banks which are giving which have given already term loans. One is one-time rollover of the loan, and number two, whether there can be some correction in the interest rate has to be looked into. Thank you.
So that is very insightful, sir. Sir, my kindly request is, could you kindly mail all these points so that even through FAPSI also we can also represent to the government at different levels, and we'll see to it the entire industry gets benefit out of it. So almost all the points are valid, and it's in good demand, all these points. Sir, now Prem Kumar Garu,
Yes,
continue with your where you stopped, sir, regarding your thought process on these financial things.
Okay.
And I believe you totally agree with Mr. Chalapathi also. All this demand should be given to both the central government and state government. And in yesterday's meeting with our Mr. Puri also, most of these points were raised. I'm sure both state and central government would certainly come to rescue of our real estate. Sir, in your continuation of your discussion, I would also like to hear from you, what is the position of the REITs? Will it continue or they will take a back step, sir? Over to you, sir. Please continue.
Yes, sir. So, well, a few thoughts about what Mr. Chalapathi said, and I would like to throw a little light on what has happened in the past. As far as this vaccine is concerned, you know, he has said very rightly, even though some predictions are being made about and growth forecasts are being made, you know, there's a lot of uncertainty in the minds of the people. And if you want people to really come out and become normal and usual and go about their business, and the sentiment has to improve, there has to be something like this vaccine. And now the reports that are coming is that this vaccine is going to take 1 to 1.5 years. And so a lot would depend on that. And I was like to continue what I was saying. What has happened before when something like this had happened? To tell you, I don't know if a lot of people know about this, but the last time the World Health, WHO, has declared a pandemic was in 2009. I mean, a lot of us do not even know about this, but then this was declared in 2009 for HINI, and it was supposed to be a pandemic that started first in Mexico and then spread all over to the US. But then the US took some very, very timely actions, and then they kind of contained the whole virus. Unlike China, which did not even report for a few months about this virus. So coming back to this vaccine, so when this thing started in April 2009, and a lot of containment measures were taken up, and by September 2009, a vaccine had come up for this HINI. So that's why we were not able to see the impact of that throughout the world. So a lot would depend on when a solution to this thing is going to happen. So that is the first thing, sir. And now coming to the kind of relief that is required and what has to be done by the developers or the state government or the central government, I think Mr. Chalapathi has touched on most of the points, so I would not like to repeat what he has said just now. Only thing is I'd like to add just a couple of things that have already been said in some of our national seminars. And one of that is that RERA, we have asked at the national level that it can be taken as a national policy that all project completion timelines should be extended by 1 year. Of course, this is being taken up at the national level, but all our developer associations and even FTCCI can take up with the RERA authority to extend all the timelines by 1 year. And not only that, we also require from RERA that all the late filing fees and be waived off, and the timelines of quarterly updates and RERA audits, they have to be extended at least until September of this year. Then this is one of the points that I would like to add to whatever Mr. Chalapathi had said. And then, you know, the first thing that comes to mind, what we should ask the state government, the first thing that comes to mind is stamp duty. Well, you know, the state is in a bad state, and I doubt if stamp duties are going to be reduced anymore. But what we can ask is, we can ask that market rates of properties should not be increased, because we are very, very justified in asking that. And also there has been talk that the state government would increase these market rates very soon. So these are the things that we can ask the state government, in addition to what Mr. Chalapathi has said. And then as far as the union government is concerned, I think he has covered all the points. And from the point of a developer, you know, well, the fundamental thing about anything is delayed sales means delayed completion. But then whether delayed sales are happening or not, we are doing our best as far as the central government is concerned to bring the sentiment back into the market, to bring some sort of an urgency into the into the buyers by reducing GST and by getting better IT reductions. But then, as far as completion is concerned, the only thing that we need to take care of is beg, borrow, or steal. We have to make sure that there's no delay in any execution from the developer point of view and from the buyer point of view. Well, if you ask me that this is the best time to buy, and then the real estate is an asset class that is good in the long run, and there'll be happiness all around. So I think the buyer should not delay much, and he should jump in because it's the best time for him to buy.
I agree with you, sir. We need to, apart from we developers, our bread and butter are our customers, be it in form of units or be it for a buyer. So we need to give them more confidence, sir. And I also agree with you that state government, state and central, both the government should come and give us some kind of cushioning, and especially relaxing this kind of RERA things and all, which will give some kind of breather to us. I'll get back to sir. Now, Ramkumar Garu, over to you, sir. Sir,
Yeah,
in continuation to what we are trying to tell us about the entire scenario, kindly go ahead, sir. You have 5 more minutes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. First is that I think we should note that the investment in real estate in India in 2019 is approximately 9% of GDP. That works up to around $6.25 billion. And the target of Government of India, which was expressed by Nirmala ji in her speech, in several speeches, was that the target to increase real estate to 13% of GDP. And that is a substantial goal the government is committed to up to 2025. So having said this, I think we should also take note of the stressed assets, that is unsold assets in real estate in the country. That's a cause of a major problem. Why was it kept that way? It's primarily because the NBFCs have failed in India, which have been the major source of funding to real estate. I'm not necessarily talking about Hyderabad because I don't have the figure. But yes, I know for sure in Mumbai, Delhi, and other megapolises, I think this has been a major issue. So there has to be a structural reorientation of the packages that you need to take into the market. Now, having said this, there will be an increase in demand with lesser volumes, I predict, by the last quarter of 2020. This is what a lot of pundits were saying about real estate in India. The demand may be delayed, but definitely it will not be lost as far as India is concerned. I think, that is something which we have to take home. And I agree with, both the earlier speakers who are very optimistic about the real estate scenario in India. Still, India depends on its domestic market. It is not so much dependent on the export market. So real estate happens to be a priority for any Indian in terms of his investment, both in terms of individual as well as an institutional investor. So I'm sure that the real estate market will again boom up. And in addition to it, now today, the rush of foreign investment into India, will be the foreign investment into real estate will be towards economies that are less battered by Corona. And India happens to be one of the countries. So obviously, I think, our stars are favoring. And I think there is every reason for optimism for the real estate to really grow and contribute to 13% of Indian economy. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It is really like a song to my ears. Very, very soothing. Very nice, sir. Ganesh Garu, over to you, Ganesh Garu. Kindly, see, I was trying to talk to the panel about the REIT funding and other source of funding where we could really, I don't call it as a pause, but they have big plans. The investors, REIT funding buys, FDI, whatever. Could you kindly throw some light on that, Ganesh Garu?
In fact, I don't want to end up with a negative note, but before the before this issue also, because of dividend distribution tax announcement by the recent budget, REITs have been completely affected. Plus, this issue has completely affected the REITs. In fact, so it's really the finance minister should come out with proper policies now, how to avoid dividend distribution tax at certain point in the REITs at least. But one good thing is that we have got enough foreign reserves. So India is one of the top countries receiving foreign funds from NRIs. So this will help us to balance our currency. The currency risk is also low because we have got much inflows. This is only because India is not a manufacturing-based country. We are service-based economy. The service success, certain services have been impacted, but IT, call center, banks, online services, etc., are working good. So I think because of REITs issue, REITs may not be affected. Dividend distribution, if government is coming out with a norm minimizing the impact of dividend distribution tax for the REITs, REITs will definitely come up and pick up as soon as the market will revive.
Good to hear from you. So, what I can understand from you, so whatever this pause is only because of this particular COVID, but immediately after May or June, we can certainly see the market bouncing back. That's what
Correct.
what I'm trying to say. That's
Correct.
really happy to, yeah.
No, not only the market bouncing back, even the dividend issue, which the main carrot in the REITs, has to be, some changes has to be done by the finance minister. So that has become REITs way more expensive, in fact.
Have you sent in? Have you any from the fraternity? Have you sent any representative?
Yeah, we have already sent the representation to the finance ministry regarding that issue. So,
and how about this GST and GST issues, which Mr. Chalapathi Rao Garu and Prem Garu have been insisting upon the government to give some kind of waiver as such. What is your call on that? How Raheja's and other developer fraternity is looking at it?
Yeah, if you ask me about GST, there should be one-time GST relief by reducing the rates for almost affected sector for at least next 12 months. In fact, and government should permit fungibility of GST credit between SGST and CGST, which is not possible as of now. And if you ask me, hotels, hospitality sector is the most affected sector now. So at least for next 3 to 4 months, GST rate should be brought to 0, and then gradually it should be increased. And GST rebate to be offset on the losses on account of and period of closure of this business. It should be not only reduced, it should be offset actually from the losses.
If my memory is good, I'm sure you are also part of that Associam GST panel who are representing the government.
Correct.
So kindly insist on this issues also.
Definitely.
Thank you so much. And Bhaskar Reddy Garu.
Yeah.
Bhaskar Reddy Garu.
Yes.
We extended time by 5 minutes, but I would like to, with your permission, can I extend another 10-15 minutes for the question and answers?
Please go ahead, because that is question and answers are more important. Already I could see some messages.
Yeah.
Please go.
The question answers are there, sir. Probably, I believe people have posted as per the names. You can start answering them, sir. Do you want me to read out the question, sir?
Yeah. I think
first question is for Ramkumar. Ramkumar, I think you can see on the board, sir, the question answers. First question was for you.
Wait, let me recall. What does it say? No, I mean, I can't see it. Will you be able to read it?
I'll read it for you, sir,
yeah,
quickly.
Please. I'll appreciate it.
The first question is like, what is the sales revenue potential of construction quality software tools, snagging process inspections developed by Indians that could be used at Asian, Middle East, and America? This is from Mr. Srinivas Raugar.
Yeah, I mean, nice. Let me share something with you. I think the key in the construction business now is going to be because there are going to be a lot of delays in supply chain management, at least for the following 6 months from today, because of the coronavirus. And in India specifically, the availability of migrant labor will become a problem. So if your software is geared towards giving contingency plans for construction, I'm sure it will have a tremendous amount of value, because you have to reprioritize, the construction objectives right now to meet, including the availability of low-cost material, as imports are going to be very restricted now as per the government policy, at least till the time the economy bounces back. The Indian manufacturer will be given precedence. But unfortunately, the Indian manufacturer is still today dependent on China and other sources of supply. So, this balancing act, I think, could be done through artificial intelligence and also through software. I think that is my assessment. Thank you.
Yeah, fine, sir. Sir, one more question from Mr. Srinivas Garu. This for Chalapathi Garu. What initiatives TREDA is taking to promote software usage in real estate industry? Chalapathi Garu.
Many of the developers having scale of construction, good construction, they're already using the software. So what specifically we have to do to promote it? There is nothing need to be done, because of course, you know, we are doing the monthly meetings wherein the presentations, we are allowing presentation by various software developers and operators in India. So they have been explaining what is there, and in addition to that, we help them having contact with our members. So that way, we are promoting usage of software in real estate.
Fine. Sir, one more question, important question from Mr. Bhanumurthy. I think this is a very generic question which Mr. Ramkumar was addressing. If FDI is to be encouraged into the country, do we restrict FDI coming in from China, be it private entities or government bank institutions? We have recently seen a Chinese state bank picking up stake in HDFC. Ramkumar, this is a very apt question for you, and you have only 30 seconds to answer, sir.
Yeah. See, I think the experience of all countries around the world is not to be restrictive in terms of FDI coming into any particular country unless there is a war against that country. Now, we do not have any war with China. Even today, we have a good diplomatic relation. In fact, as on yesterday, most of the medical supplies for India have come down from China. So if we protect our own interests, I don't think we need to be afraid or restrictive about FDI entry to India. And believe me, China is going to be a very large investor in India. As I speak to you, there are a lot of Chinese companies who want to enter India, and they want to enter into the real estate market. And I don't see any reason why it should be. Thank you.
So thank you so much, sir. Another question from Mr. Nilesh. Probably this question is for Mr. Chalapathi Garu. What will be change in price in outskirts of Hyderabad? It could be a general thing, sir. What will be change in price in outskirts of Hyderabad? Chalapathi Garu.
See, the government of India has already announced that there is already a 6 to 7 lakh crore of losses in the country. Out of that, 1 lakh crore loss is from the real estate. It is already recognized by this thing. So most of this 1 lakh crore loss is already on the head of the developers. So we don't see any capacity in the developers to absorb further losses. So I don't see much price correction in this, but in pockets where where the developers are in need of money, they may offer some discounts. Otherwise, I don't see much price correction immediately. But on the other hand, I feel that work from home is going to help the residential sector much. And I think this question is related to residential sector only. So I will answer to that extent. I don't see much correction except in few pockets where the developer is in a hurry to complete the project and exit the project. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. So another question is from Mr. Abhiram Kannepalli. So Mr. Prem Kumar. Mr. Prem Kumar, sir, has mentioned about the growth rate prediction for the financial year 2021-22. Need to know the basis of this prediction. I think we paused here, sir. Prem Kumar, you can elaborate on this. You have 1 minute on this, sir.
Okay, so when I talked about 7.5% growth rate for 2021-22, now that was not something figure that I came up with. That is a figure that rating agencies, a very well-known rating agency, S&P, had come up with for India, and I think it's there in today's papers also, if I'm not mistaken. So what is the basis for coming up to this rating is, well, to tell you frankly, I really do not know, but I expect that they expect this V curve to happen as far as India is concerned, because otherwise, how would a country go from 1.5 to 7.5? So I'm sure they're expecting a V curve as far as growth is concerned. So, well, if you are planning to buy real estate, I think you have to really hurry up, because once we get into that, we curve. I think everywhere prices are really going to go up, especially real estate. So it is my suggestion to all the buyers, whoever is looking at what kind of pricing that is going to happen in the next 1 year or two, please don't wait. Please go ahead and buy. Thank you.
Thank you. Ganesh Garu, this question is from Nilesh Gupta. What are the chances of alternate funding options coming to Hyderabad market other than banks, NBFCs, etc.? Ganesh Garu.
Yeah, as you rightly asked, this is a $1 million question. How is the funding from outside India coming to India right now? So as a result, it's a very gray area how the fund will come. But as REITs is a good option which the funds can come to India, REITs, and also overseas OCBs is also an option which can come to India, because compared to the world market, Indian market is doing well, will do well also. So even yesterday, the RBI governor has predicted 1.9% as a current growth. So this is enough for the foreign investors to come to India.
In continuation to his question, I also have a question to you, Ganesh Garu. Did Government of India amend any rules for this FDI to bring in more FDI into the country?
As of now, government is
in the recent past?
No. As of now, government is vetting what option has to be brought to the FDI norms. So after the post-COVID scenario, there is no announcement in FDI norms from the government as such.
Yeah. There are another. Okay, thank you, Ganesh Garu. There is a general question. We were planning to purchase a property prior to this COVID-19. Do you suggest us to put in on hold for some time? Anybody can answer that quickly.
I think Prem has already answered.
Okay. Is it yes or no, sir?
Go ahead and buy.
Go ahead and buy. That's a very good answer. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So definitely there will be a scarcity in the supply chain.
I understand.
So
okay, now I'm going to next question, Ganesh Garu. This from Karuna Kumar. Have you submitted any representative to the government of Telangana regarding reduce of registration charges? I think Chalapathi Garu has already covered that. Chalapathi Garu, mire.
Yeah, we have not submitted any this thing so far because now the government is very, very seriously fighting COVID, and we are with this. In fact, on the other hand, we are working with the government to see that all the transit or migrant labor who are there, they get feeded properly. We are concentrating on that main aspect. And of course, the developers have been spending lots of money to see that all the people are fed properly in the sites. And in addition to that, the wages are also arranged somehow to these people as of now. So we will be taking up once the lockdown period is over, then only I think we should take it up with the government. The government, as of now, there's a lot of issues because there is absolutely no revenue come to the department, and the registrations are also very less as such. So the government has the responsibility to feed the people first. So let it be fulfilled, and we will take it up with later date.
Fine. Thank you, sir. Next question is from Mr. Prem. It is from Kesava. He's asking, what will be the impact on precast products supplying to real estate, and how do you foresee in the next 6 months?
Well, 6 months is a very short time to predict what is going to happen to precast. But then, the way to go is precast because it is in the interest of the developer and it's in the interest of the end purchaser that buildings get completed very soon and very fast, and the precast is the only way out. In fact, we were discussing about all the new technologies that are coming up and that we should be adopting. So precast is going to happen. It's going to happen. It's just around the corner, but I don't know if that's going to happen in the next 6 months.
Right. Sir, this question is for both of you, sir, Prem Garu and Chalapathi Garu. Both of you can give your answers. This again from Kesava is asking, the most of the discussions went on residential or commercial properties, but not discuss anything on open plots business. How do we the business in open plots, as most of the individuals block their money in open plots?
Should I take it, Prem, or you want to answer? Prem, should I take it or you want to answer?
No, please go ahead.
Chalapathi Garu.
I
Yes,
will
yes,
follow what
yes,
I will
yes,
follow.
yes. See, today only in Enadu paper it was covered that some of the people they have gone to the fields and staying there to avoid the so-called the COVID. So, as I told earlier, also there is going to be a increased demand for villas and independent houses in future because social distancing is. I don't think it is going to leave us very shortly until we find a proper vaccine for this. So the person who is asking this question, if he is a owner of the plot, not an investor, better he construct a house there and go there and live in. So what I would suggest is, yeah, whoever has purchased the plots, they should make a house there and then they could so and stay there for their own health. And particularly now that you need not have to travel much because this working from home is going to be the order of the future.
Right. May I take that question also, please?
Yes, yes, sir. Prem, please go ahead, sir.
Yes. Okay, so I understood this question in a different perspective. I think the question is, are prices of plots, what is going to happen to the prices of plots and lands? Well, I have from past experience only one thing to say about the real estate market, especially plots in Hyderabad or elsewhere. Unlike other countries, unlike other places, our purchases, especially plot purchases and land purchases, are not leveraged by investors. In the sense that we don't take loans to buy a plot or we don't take loans to buy land. You know, traditionally that's not what has been happening. So in this kind of a scenario, what is going to happen is the demand, the sales for the plots and the land is going to slow down. You know, the number of transactions are going to slow down, but then you will not see any reduction in the prices. So if your question is, should I delay selling my plot? What should I do with my plot? Well, my answer to that is nothing is going to happen to your plot. As far as the pricing is concerned, it's only going to go up because even if you see in the 2008 crisis, the prices never went down. It's only the number of transactions that have gone down. So your investment is safe. And if you want to invest more, please go ahead and do it because real estate is the best asset class. And in the long run, you'll always be happy investing in real estate.
Thank you so much.
Srikanth Garu.
Yes, sir. Ramkumar, Chepan, sir. Please,
yeah,
please.
Can I just add to what both the earlier gentlemen have said?
Yeah, please.
See, India continues to be a consumer investor as far as housing is concerned to a large extent. So, I mean, we don't have the kind of an investment like community housing like what happens in US. So I totally agree with them that the plot prices may be delayed, but definitely the rise will continue. It is a very optimistic, proposition. And again, there could be certain variations of the distance of the plot from the center of the city. People would like to avoid getting into crowded areas. Beyond that, I'm sure that plots will continue to, the prices of plots will continue to rise in second and third metros.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. And there is a general question: can we have more number of green buildings? That I will only answer yes, of course. In future is green buildings. Every developer is watching to develop green buildings. So that is also answered. Now, the last question is...
No. What I would suggest is healthy buildings, whether it's green or blue or whatever it is.
Yeah, healthy buildings. Absolutely.
We are going to have healthy buildings in future. We have to add something more.
So that is what is going to be future culture, sir.
Yeah, no. We need to have wash basin in front of the house. At the entrance of the house, we need to have wash basin.
Very true, very true.
Maybe the norms for density of the occupants of the building may be regulated as of now.
Absolutely.
As of now, IT spaces, say every 7.5 square meter per person. Maybe that has to be regulated now, in fact.
Sir, Telugulo cheppalante, if we need to go back to a village, even now, sir, బయటికి వెళ్ళగానే ఒక బకెట్లో నీళ్లు పెడతారు కాలు చీలు కడుపు లోపల రమ్మని. అది ఆచారం మంది ఇప్పుడు కోవిడ్ దయ వల్ల మళ్ళీ పాత ఆచారం పాటిస్తున్నాం.
సార్ బయటికి ఎందుకు వెళ్తున్నారు అది ముందు తెలియాలి సార్.
Good one. Sir, last question, sir. If you are trying to launch a construction project, especially a higher segment, One, do you suggest we hold it for the time being or convert it to budget housing? What's your suggestion considering our original plan was to go for a premium gated community? This question is for Sandeep Sancheti. Yes, sir, Prem.
Oh, sorry. Oh, so I think Mr. Chalapathi has share his thoughts on that particular thing.
Yeah.
Well, so you are asking me if your luxury housing project has to be converted into budget housing or should I launch it right away? Well, you must be a real estate developer if you're asking me that question. So I think the pulse of what you feel about the market is something that you can judge best. But, you know, I think it's too much of, if you ask me at a personal level, I think it's too much of a hassle to convert your luxury housing into budget housing, because you must have planned your project depending on the location, and the positioning of the product is done based on the location and then the segment that you're targeting it at. So left to myself, I will not change the complexion of that particular project. Thank you.
We will leave this question to the other person, Mr. Ramkumar, who is usually general, is a habitual investor. Ramkumar, how do you look at this?
See, I feel 2 months of disruption should not change our thought process. I think it's too early or too short a period of disruption. But however, having said this, I think we should be mentally prepared to expect waves of these kind of disruptions if the scientists of World Health Organization say is true. So, but at the same time, a disruption is not a reversal. So I think, we should be able to adapt to these kind of stoppages, but continue with the plan to be on the highway.
Yeah, I want to add something to this thing. If feasible, since you are, if you already decide to go ahead with the luxury project, please see that there is a provision for workstation within the house. A specified place for work from home. If possible, you can go ahead. And another possibility you can think of is subject to feasibility and the authorities agreeing. Instead of having workstation in each house, maybe we can have 1 floor or 1.5, 2 floors, depending on the demand, separately to work office space that can be leased out to these people or whatever model you want to do it. So this can be a sort of a mixed development to some extent. This can be explored. Thank you.
Fine, sir. And one last question, which is, I'm not very sure. There's a marketing study somebody is asking. Nilesh Gupta, can market respond positively for pre-launch offers like pre-COVID? This is a marketing strategy, sir. I am not very sure. You can take the answer. You can answer this, sir. Mr. Nilesh is asking.
No, as for RERA, there is no pre-sale allowed. Thank you.
No, he says, can market respond positively for pre-launch offers like pre-COVID? They want to use pre-COVID. They want pre-COVID prices. This I'm not sure, sir.
Yeah, there is no.
No, as per RERA, all the projects before they are sold, it has to be registered with the RERA. So there is no question of pre-launch offers.
No. He's not asking pre-launch. He's asking about pre-COVID. You want to utilize this pre-COVID thing.
No, he is asking pre-COVID, pre-launch offers.
Pre-launch offers like pre-COVID.
Yeah. No, pre or post
and post-COVID. Not
pre or post, whatever it is, pre-launch offers without a plan, without RERA registration, don't touch them. Thank you.
So presuming the RERA registration is available, then definitely there will be a carrot with a discount. The discount is followed as...
Yeah, definitely. That is your financial planning. Definitely. Financial planning. If you are going to get a benefit by pre-launch sale after registration, instead of having a term loan, go ahead.
Yeah, one last question, sir. There are a lot of compliments pouring in for Mr. Prem and Mr. Chalapathi or Ram Garu, Ganesh Garu. Nothing for me. Anyhow, last question, sir. What happened to layouts in future and regulations in future, nationally and internationally? The last question, sir.
So Definitely the layout regulations will be now completely has to be changed, like more open spaces, more green spaces, in fact, and less of concrete jungles. That should be the plan as of now.
Good.
As you mentioned,
So we are
the density of
okay.
working population should come down in a particular area.
Hmm.
Hyderabad,
Good.
particularly, which is free of FSI, should have certain restrictions on FSI at least.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay. Thank you so much, sir. So that is the end of the question and answers, and it is very, very insightful and very thought-provoking. And it gave the entire our session gave us a very good idea for both for consumers, most importantly for the consumers who are among these members, to the investors, everybody. Like, how do we plan? And what remains is like our representative the government. Chalapathi garu, Prem garu, as categorically called, what all should be represented the state government and central government. Ganesh garu, you can also take up these GST issues which are really bothersome. Ramkumar garu, you can also facilitate all these things and put him in line and help us out. So overall, I could see it's only a pause, but we have not lost any kind of business, and we are going to continue and come back onto the tracks post this COVID. And like I would go by what Mr. Ramkumar was saying. We are certainly we are going to bounce back and make our entire India very healthy. Thank you so much for all the participants, all the panelists. Thank you once again. Probably next couple of weeks, a lot of developments are happening. I may seek your time once again to come back onto this kind of panel and give your thoughts so that we can perhaps you can take a good representative to the government and see to it is live. Bhaskar Reddy garu, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity.
I think let me do my share. Thank you very much for excellent navigating through complex subject, and I should thank you first for taking up so well, extracting.
Finally, I got one vote. Finally, got one vote, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank all the panelists for joining today.
Thank you.
And
our votes are also to you, Srikanth.
You set the tone really nice, and we really enjoyed the way you have coordinated the whole thing. Excellent. Learned quite a few things today.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Wonderful meeting, gentlemen, and thank you, Srikanth garu.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Sorry, Bhaskar Reddy, you something.
Yeah, so we at FTCCI are collaborating with sector-specific issues with the associations like TREDA and all that. And Chalapathi garu was telling that we post-COVID will submit, but we have already started working with a closed group, and we are aligning with these sector-specific associations, and we are preparing a representation. Including this 5% GHMC, which is they are giving rebate to residential, which we are also requesting them to extend to the commercial, and not to increase any registration value for next 1 to 2 years. So there are some, I think quite a few number of representations are coming from our members. All these things will be discussed with sector specific association, and together we will submit it to the government and hope the real estate sector will boom post-COVID, as all panelists are opinion. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.